take this car for a drive. I got it in, I believe I already have it in sport mode right now, but let's take this car for a quick drive. Not the best weather today, but pretty good. And I'll kind of give you my driving impressions of this car. Let's just, you know, for now, I'm going to stick it in comfort mode. Gotta love, you know, this modern screen. Gives you like, tells you what you're in, and kind of gives you a little graphic there. You know, it's a little bit of a gimmick, but you know, it's not like you need that. But so I'm going to drive this car like for a few minutes, as just like anybody else. Like 80% of BMW buyers are going to drive it. Like they're going to stroll around, use it as a normal car, that kind of thing. And I have driven it a bit, and this is more of the commodity model. This is the 330i. So this is not the car that, this is the, I mean, I can imagine that this car versus the 340i probably sells 5 to 1, maybe even 6 to 1. So they'll sell 5 or even 6 of these cars before they even, you know, for every like M340i that they sell, and even less for the M3 or M4 cars. So this is definitely the more popular model. This is the model that most people are going to buy. Given that this is the base model, it feels very much like a BMW. It feels like, and this is coming from someone, I've owned 2 BMWs. I've owned a 328, a 2012, and now I currently own a 2014 335i. This is a loaner, and my dealership gave it to me because my car is getting extensive maintenance done. Apparently it has a leak in the oil pan, and they're going to do that, and guess what? That costs multiple thousands of dollars to do. So they're going to give me a loaner. So they gave me this car. And, you know, given there happens to be an M3 right in front of me. There you go. Let me talk about the auto stop start. You know, most people immediately turn that feature off. In this car, I could barely feel the thing. When you're stopped at a light, it turns off. It's almost imperceptible that the car is turned off. It is so much better than my 2012, and a lot better than even my 2014, which is actually pretty good. You know, this is whatever they've done with the motor mounts or whatever. You can barely feel the thing. I can imagine people are using it more because it's so seamless. You can barely notice it turning off. I haven't even looked for the defeat button on it. There it is. If you wanted to defeat it, there's a defeat button here. But again, you can barely feel it. If you put the car into sport mode, though, yeah, you get a little more pickup there. I believe it automatically keeps the engine on at all times. And then if you want to go into manual to paddle mode, if you want to start using the paddles, you can use the paddles at any time, but it's going to revert back to drive. So if you want to use the paddles like permanently, you want to stick it into sport here by clicking this button back. And then you just start using the paddles. So I just stuck it into M2 and M1, and I'm going to shift manually now. Compared to my 2014, which is an M Sport model, I would say that given, you know, it could be the fact that this car is brand new. It feels similar. The suspension feels similarly as not stiff. Stiff isn't the word, but the body control and body motion is similar. I don't know what they've done with the suspension or the damping, but it is an improvement over the F30. You know, even in base form. This is a bit of a sporty suspension, I would say. It's not going to blow, you know, it's not like a track-ready car, but it certainly has a similar amount of body roll to my car. Again, my car has a 10-year-old suspension, so it may be that. But it does feel comparable. So you could, you know, given the suspension and how it feels, I feel like you could take it to a track day, given that, you know, you're not going to go drive at 7/10 kind of thing, 6/10. Probably great for that kind of thing, or from spirited back roads driving would be good too. Again, it just feels nice, and it feels really well damped. Body control is pretty good, you know, and at the same time, it's not beating you up. This does not have the magnetic shocks, so, you know, but overall, I think they struck a really good balance between comfort and a little bit of sportiness, just giving you a little bit of sportiness for those back road drives. I think it's pretty good. As far as the engine and acceleration, it feels honestly much better than my my stock 328 felt. I don't know what they did. Again, this does have a slight bump in power, but it's not like, you know, my obviously my 335 is significantly faster. I mean, look, here I'm flooring it there. I mean, it's fast, definitely fast enough. So this is the B48 engine. I owned a BMW 328i 2012. It had the predecessor to this engine. It was the N20, made 240 horsepower, but I actually had a JB4 on it. So it actually made about 270 at the wheels, giving it about 300 horsepower at the crank. That was a pretty peppy engine. This one makes in its stock form, which obviously this is stock, 256 horsepower. I think a tiny little bump in torque as well. So we're talking about 16 extra horsepower of the N20. Definitely enough power to get 95% of BMW buyers out in a hurry. I would not consider this to be any kind of like sports car kind of experience, but it's certainly enough power for 99% of all situations. Maybe even a little bit of track time. I mean, you're not gonna go crazy on the track as long as you know the limitations of the car and the limitations of the power plant. You should be fine. Pretty good power plant. I already kind of stepped on it a bit, and it was more than enough power, again, for most situations. Certainly fast. It's not like crazy fast, but it's definitely enough, enough to have a little bit of fun on, on the weekends, or you want to take the long way home one day. You can certainly do that. The transmission shifts, I would say it's a little faster than my car. The ZF 8-speed is, maybe they tuned it a little better in this car than like the newer cars. I could definitely see myself, if I had one of these, I'd probably be using the paddles a little bit here and there. I have to use, obviously my car unfortunately doesn't have paddles. I didn't option it that way. I bought it pre-owned, but it had pretty much every option except the paddle shifters. I don't know why anybody would not option that out, but maybe it just wasn't a priority for that person who bought the car. If you have one of these cars, you got to get the paddle shifters. And I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that that is standard for these cars. I believe you can only get this car in an automatic. I think, in fact, I think to get a manual transmission in a 3 Series now, you just got to go with the M3 or M4. That's just the only way. I don't think they used to have the F30, like 335i, and I think the 330, the old one, used to be able to get a manual. I'm pretty sure that the take rate on the manuals and the F30s are pretty low, given that they don't even offer it anymore on the, I think these are the I guess G20s or G30s. I don't know the actual chassis code. I'll put it on the screen. I'll probably look it up. Overall, I think the interior is quite nice. Obviously this is plastic, just like my car, but has a little bit of texture at least. My car is like completely smooth, looks super fake. This sort of does a slightly better job in making you believe that this is some kind of wood product, even though you just tap on it, it's obviously plastic, but it looks nice. Okay, so I am in the passenger seat of this 330i. This is a brand new car, so it's significantly more modern than my 335i, which is a 2014 model, but it's again it's a 335i with the M Sport package. I mean, it's a significantly more modern cabin. I mean, you got the dual screen thing, which is the direction that most manufacturers have gone with these cars. My Mustang has a very similar setup, just has screens. A lot of people complain about that car, about the screens, but honestly, this is just the direction that the car industry has gone. Pretty much started with the S-Class, last generation S-Class sort of started the whole like movement of dual screen things. Now, all cars have them, even more commodity cars like this one. Certainly it's definitely an upgrade from my car. I mean, I'm not going to even compare the two, but I do like the perforated leather seats. I have the leather seats in my car, but they're not perforated. I certainly like that. I think it's a nice look. The steering wheel, I'm sort of conflicted about. I do like the 3-spoke design in my car a little more than this one, but I'm assuming most people wouldn't be bothered by it, just a dual spoke design. gives you a little more flexibility to move your arms around. These would appear to be some like sensors to keep an eye on you, to make sure you don't fall asleep, that kind of thing. That's my guess. I'm not entirely sure what they are, but you know, it looks certainly like there's something here that's for some kind of driver monitoring kind of situation. This is sort of this steering wheel reminds me of the Corvette that I recently drove. It has the flat bottom and sort of flat on top steering wheel. Kind of cool, you know. I have nothing against it. It's mostly around shape. It's not like, I do prefer my steering wheel for my car. It's just, I think it's one of the best steering wheels out there, period. So you know, as far as like using the infotainment system, I haven't used it that much. I don't mind it at all. I think it's, you know, it's one of the more easier ones to use. There's you have like little shortcut buttons for every little thing. You know, you hit the home button there, and you can go to the, you know, you kind of like move. But I'm just like hitting these buttons, and you know, they're little shortcuts. So, or you can do very similar kind of you know, things here. If this little bar here always appears to be always there, which is good, since they eliminated a bunch of buttons that my car doesn't have. My car has buttons. You know, I do like buttons. I like the fact that they at least kept some stuff here. Like you got the defrosters, you know, hazard lights. These appear to be like capacitive though. They're not real buttons. Which, you know, I can let go. I can probably pass. I'd rather have something here than nothing. So I got to give them that. I like that they kept the volume knob here, even though 90% of the time, 99% of the time, I'm going to be reaching for the steering wheel buttons, which are real buttons. Thank you, BMW, for keeping the real buttons. Over here, you can switch your modes here. You got sport, comfort, and if you hit the sport button, you can go in here and select Sport Plus, Sport, or do a Sport Individual, and then you can configure that here. Not a lot, since this is a base car. Really not a lot of configuration that you can do. But you can go in here and set the drivetrain to Sport Plus, and then you can do steering, comfort or sport. So you can kind of configure it how you want it. I'm not going to mess with that. This is just a loaner. The vents here are pretty cool. Reminds me of the Corvette vents that I recently drove. You just use this little, I guess, stock here to like put the direction of your vents however you want them. I think that's pretty clever. Definitely modern, you know, kind of thing to do these days. You know, having the normal vent thing didn't really bother me. I have a feeling you could easily just bump into it, you know, and just put it out of whack. You know, if it were here, it would probably be a lot harder to do that. But again, it's very easy to adjust, so it's not really a big deal. You have a charging pad here for your phone, which is kind of nice, a wireless charging pad, a couple of cup holders, very similar to my car, and a USB port. I'm assuming, yeah, there's another, then you got a USB-C here for extra charging in the little center console here. And the, you know, glove compartment is pretty standard, but very similar to my car as well. The stock stereo actually sounds pretty good. I remember that when my 328, I didn't have the Harman Kardon upgraded stereo. It sounded pretty good, no complaints. I think it sounds pretty good. I bet the Harman Kardon would sound better. I would say that my Harman Kardon stereo sounds a little better than this one, but it's not dramatically better, you know. And here we have the obviously the sunroof button here, and then this, I guess you hit it once and it gets rid of the inner cover. There you go. You'll do it again and it opens the sunroof. You got a bit of a deflector shield, you could say here, which kind of, I guess, diverts air forward. It only opens about this much, you know, not quite all the way. These appear to, I guess you have some, yeah, we got some programmable buttons for your home, you know, to set up your garage doors and that kind of thing. But yeah, the overall, great car. I'm enjoying it so far. You know, it's not permanently mine, but I'm going to enjoy it while I have it. Oh, the shifter stock. You sort of get used to it pretty quick. I have a more normal shifter. It's not like a real shifter. It's more like, it's not, I guess it's a shift by wire, I suppose. So it's a similar situation. I guess this kind of gives you a little more room to, I guess, put more buttons in here. I'm glad like I said, I'm glad they kept all these buttons here. You know, giving you a little bit of tactile feedback when you select certain things. So one thing that annoys me of BMW, and you know, it's not, some people might not consider it to be much of a big deal, but That's something that annoys me in my car, is the fact that there's a little slider. Can't see it, I'll put a little bit of B-roll, that you can like automatically change whether you're getting hot or cold air from the top vents, like these vents here or that one over there maybe. And I thought that the newer cars eliminated that because you know, there's no slider, there's no physical button, but they actually hid it within the infotainment itself. If you go to like if you hit climate control here, climate control button, and you go to individual settings, it's still there, but it's just like buried in the climate control. And the reason why I mentioned this is because when I started driving this car, I felt the air conditioner wasn't working very well. The thing is, it was set all the way to the right, so the air felt really hot. It didn't matter. I had to like set the air conditioner down to like low. You know, I had to set like the HVAC system to like low to feel like it still wasn't cooling very much. I thought there was something wrong with the air conditioner because I thought that they did away with this, but it's still in here. But for now, since I'm in March, I have it set to like right in the middle. So, you know, but when obviously if you have one of these cars and you're wondering why the air conditioner isn't working very well, and it's summertime and it's hot, set it all the way to the cold, and you will feel much colder air coming out of these vents here. That's all I gotta say. I wish BMW would just get rid of that. You know, if you're gonna have automatic climate control, let it be fully automatic. Like, I really, there are scenarios, you know, some BMW fans defend it, saying that gives you further control, but I've never ever wanted more than just cold. I want cold air, like not so cold air or hot air, coming out. I would just rather it just, this determine the temperature, not have to have two separate thermostats, sort of. That's all. Still find that annoying, but it is what it is. That's just, they're still doing it. It's just buried in the UI. I like the little, I like the combination of these like kind of like more aluminum feel, even though this is all plastic, but giving you a little bit of nice contrast here in the interior. The cabin's quite nice. You know, I like it. You know, again, the steering wheel feels good in hand. It's not too fat. You know, you stick your hands in 3 and 9 and it feels good. Good position for the paddles. Obviously the paddles move with the steering wheel. It's not like an Italian supercar where the paddles are always in the same spot. But you know, they're there at least. You got paddles. So again, like I mentioned, these are all capacitive for the most part, but you have the, you know, the little volume knob there. Again, I would probably just use the buttons here. The layout for the steering wheel buttons seems very familiar to me, given that I drive an F30 BMW. So I do like that. The cup holder situation is is very similar. Not the best cup, not the biggest cup holders on earth, but at least you have something. You do have some cup holders here in the door. If you look over there, you know, you have 4 cup holders in the front. Probably have a couple more in the back. I did sit in the back briefly, and it felt this car is actually a little bigger than the F30, so I think it's not much bigger, but it's a little bigger. It's actually close to the size of an old, like maybe a 3 generations old, like a 5 Series. So it's not a small car. So it's certainly grown in size, but it doesn't feel much bigger when you're driving it. This doesn't feel like a huge car. It like it really hides its size pretty well. So I'm in my garage now, and after driving it, a couple of thoughts came to my mind. One thing to note about BMW is very similar to Porsche. They iterate their products pretty slowly. If you look at this car, pretty much 9 out of 10 people are going to say that's a 3 Series. That's not anything so what they do is they make small iterations to their cars, making small tweaks to them, making them every time they put one out, it's a little better. Some may argue that, you know, some of the changes they made into the interior, like the lack of buttons, that kind of thing, is not for the best. But overall, you're getting a slightly better product. But it's not like such a dramatic change to turn off a bunch of customers. They know what they're doing, you know, as far as design, language, that kind of thing. Still got the Hofmeister kink there, just like my car has. And you know, overall, it's a very good looking car. I mean, I'm a big BMW 3 Series guy. I've had 2 of them, and it certainly does have, you know, it has a nice look to it. And I could very easily see myself buying, eventually upgrading, maybe getting the M340i or even an M3, hopefully one day. Given that this is the base car, it's a very good looking car. I can imagine that this car probably starts at maybe close to 60 grand. I'll probably have to look it up. I don't even know what they cost now. The headlight design is pretty cool. You have pretty much, I think this grille kind of opens and closes like automatically to let more air in when it's required, and makes it more slippery when not. But yeah, pretty cool. I'm not the biggest fan of these wheels. They look a little too like, Transformer, kind of look like Transformers, each of these little things, but it's overall a very nice car. It's a nice design. It's it's a classic kind of design, and again, they didn't do it. The one thing I'm very happy about that BMW did, let's go back to the front. Pretty much a normal grille, normal looking grille, not this crazy beaver teeth looking one that I'm really most people are not a fan of. But they say that they had to do that for better cooling, but I don't know. Whatever. They could have just increased the size of the radiators or something. They didn't have to do that. They could have just kept this front, and I think it would have been a better seller. But whatever. But yeah, those are my thoughts on pretty much the exterior of the car. Yeah, I like it. Really, I dig it. I think it's a good looking car. Let's put it in Sport Plus real quick, because there we go. You can go back. Yeah, that you do have fake engine noise. That's something I gotta give it a bit of a knock on. I mean, certainly fast. Ooh, took a second to shift there. Not the fastest transmission, but when you're in normal driving situations, it does shift pretty fast. But that for 1 to 2 shift took a bit of a second there to shift. So here I am. I'm gonna push it a little bit. See if it gives me the gear. Gave me the gear. You can have a good time in this car. This curve they always slow down a lot. Can't really go too crazy here. Well, I'm behind this car now. Definitely have enough power to have a bit of a good time. We're at the point where the M340i's are getting pretty cheap, so if you could spring for one of those, probably not a bad idea. I bet it would handle a little better because I think those come with magnetic shocks standard, if I'm not mistaken. And to have the option to stiffen up the chassis a little bit would probably be good for back road driving, that kind of thing. Definitely enough power, definitely enough, pretty good suspension. I wouldn't go like, again, it's like a good 6/10 car, a good 7/10 car. You could go pretty quick, keep up with maybe do your best to keep up with like more of a sports car kind of car. But it gives you that. The 3 Series is such a good all-around car. It's hard to beat it when it comes to like just your overall practicality with the 4 doors, a decent sized trunk, good amount of power even with the 4-cylinder. Pretty decent driving dynamics even with the stock suspension here, as I showed you. Definitely a good package, definitely something where you can have a lot of fun. And given the depreciation curve on these cars, you can certainly wait 2 or 3 years and you can probably get a very good deal on one of these pre-owned. That's how I buy my BMWs. I usually just wait until 2 or 3 years have gone by, and there you go. You can get one of these for a lot cheaper than the price of a Camry, and have, in my opinion, a better time. There is a downside to these cars, and that I'm experiencing that, and I know it all too well. The maintenance costs for these cars when they're out of warranty can be significant. The maintenance cost does escalate the older the car gets. My car is a 2014, now is over 10 years old. Things are starting to break a little more. Not break, nothing's really broken, it's just maintenance costs. The car is it's on its 3rd leak. I've replaced the oil filter housing. the valve cover gasket, and now the oil pan started to leak. And that's not cheap. Apparently it's a big job. They got to remove the front steering rack assembly, I believe, to get to the oil pan in that car. And that is, I was quoted, it's like a 10-hour job. It's not a small car. That's why they gave me a loaner. But I did ask them to convert, to double check that it was actually leaking, before, going through the job. When you get one of these cars, and especially one that's pre-owned, you just need to be ready for those costs. You cannot let the maintenance defer. You can't defer maintenance on these cars. It's not good. It's just not good for the car. It's just not going to be reliable. You just got to do everything the BMW says. That's just what I would recommend. Being like a multiple BMW owner. But, back to this car, if you're looking for a nice lease deal, I'm sure you can get a good lease deal in one of these 330s, given that they make so many of them. And you want to have a nice, fun yet practical car. And this is, I think this sort of accomplishes the sports sedan formula very, very well, like as BMW always has done. BMW's pretty much started the sports sedan segment, and although a lot of cars have kind of risen into providing very nice sports car experiences, honestly, except no substitutes, in my opinion, BMW is still the best. And get a sedan while you still can, because they're disappearing quick. Crossovers are taking over. Thankfully, BMW has not stopped making sedans, and sports sedans for that matter. And enjoy them while you can, because one day you're gonna have nothing but crossovers, and then we're all up shit creek. But overall, though, these are my thoughts on the 2025 BMW 330i. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you have any questions about the car, feel free to leave them in the comments. Really helps a lot if you can like and subscribe. Really trying to build up this channel, and I'll see you in the next one.